Performance-based navigation, PBN, concept. The components of PBN. There are three components of PBN. Navigation aid, nav aid, infrastructure, refers to the ground, space or onboard nav aids which support or provide positioning capability. Navigation specification, details the aircraft and aircrew requirements needed to support PBN operations. A navigation specification is either a RNP specification or a nav specification. RNP specifications include a requirement for onboard self-contained performance monitoring and alerting, whilst RNAV specifications do not. Navigation application, the application of a navigation specification and the supporting nav aid infrastructure to specific routes, procedures and/or defined airspace volumes. Nav aid infrastructure. The nav aid infrastructure comprises the nav aids that support or provide the positioning capabilities. Examples of nav aids are as follows: ground, very high frequency omni-range, VOR, distance measuring equipment, DME. Notes tactical air navigation, TACN, may be used provided the system meets specific criteria. The non-directional beacon, NDB, is not an acceptable nav aid for PBN. Space, Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS, Global Positioning System, GPS, and GLONASS. On board, inertial reference units. Each state will need to consider the nav aid infrastructure and their nav aid policy when defining their PBN requirements. Navigation specifications. The navigation specification defines the performance required of the nav system together with any aircraft and aircrew requirements to support the defined performance level. Performance level requirements. Each navigation specification has a designator. For example, RNAV 5, RNP1, RNP approach, RNP approach. The number in the designator represents the minimum lateral navigation accuracy in nautical miles, (nm), that must be maintained for at least 95% of the flight time. The required lateral accuracy limits the combined total of all errors, the total system error, TSE, that may exist in an aircraft system. See topic RNAV systems for an explanation of the TSE and associated errors. It should be noted that the accuracy limit is only one of the performance requirements for PBN procedures. International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, Navigation Specifications, Generic. ICAO navigation specifications are detailed in Volume 2 of the Performance-Based Navigation Manual. The ICAO navigation specifications are designed to satisfy global requirements, globally compatible, and limited to provide global harmony. These navigation specifications have been designed to minimize the impact on implementation costs for existing aircraft and systems. Navigation applications. A navigation application is the application of a navigation specification together with a nav aid infrastructure on a specific air traffic services, ATS, route or procedure, or in an airspace volume. The designator of a navigation application matches the corresponding navigation specification. RNAV applications are supported by RNAV specifications and RNP applications are supported by RNP specifications. Navigation applications, indicating the designation of the required navigation specification plus any established limitations imposed for the particular navigation application, will be detailed in charts and in the Aeronautical Information Publications, IPs. PBN within the airspace concept. PBN is not a standalone concept. It is one of the elements that support the strategic objectives of the airspace concept, together with communications, surveillance and ATM. Note that an airspace concept can be viewed as a master plan or vision for a particular airspace. PBN is an integral part of a particular airspace concept and functions together with available surveillance, ZUA, communications, COM, and air traffic management, ATM. Specific navigation applications support specific airspace concepts. They provide a context for a navigational specification. Each state will select a published navigation specification from the PBN manual based on its own requirements. When a state defines its own requirements, it must take into account not only the functionality of their existing fleet and available NavAid infrastructure, but also the capabilities of their communications, ATS surveillance infrastructure and ATM system. The available infrastructure may place restrictions on the application of a navigation specification, and therefore requirements may vary from state to state. The PBN concept identifies three components. Navigation aid, NavAid, infrastructure, refers to the ground, space or onboard NavAids which support or provide positioning capability. Navigation specification details the aircraft and aircrew requirements needed to support PBN operations. A navigation specification is either a RNP specification or a NAV specification. RNP specifications include a requirement for onboard self-contained performance monitoring and alerting, whilst NAV specifications do not. Navigation application. The application of a navigation specification and the supporting NavAid infrastructure to specific routes, procedures and/or defined airspace volumes. Context: PBN is not a standalone concept, it is one of the elements that support the strategic objectives of the airspace concept, together with communications, surveillance and ATM.